Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the meanings of your house number, your address. So as you engage with noticing the numbers around you, one of the places that you'll start noticing is like your home, your address, the house number, or you'll notice your phone number or driver's license or license plates. I mean, you'll start noticing things as you develop a language. It's like numerology is like a language that you can use to communicate with your higher self and with spirit, and be able to glean messages from around you to help guide you and encourage you and reinforce or give you a response to something that's either in your energy field that is being reflected back, or a response to something that you might want to do and you're trying to figure out if this is the right thing to do or not. So today we're going to delve into your house numbers, your address. So your address is a lot like Feng Shui. Feng Shui is about the movement of energy through your house. And in Feng Shui, there's certain areas of your house that have positive, really powerful energy, and other areas of your house that don't have, that, maybe suppress, that's not so supportive of you. And your house numbers and your address is very much the same thing. It can either support the essence of who you are, which is the ideally what you're looking for, or it can kind of be a little bit at odds with you and kind of be a little bit conflicting maybe, or maybe you have to work harder than you really need to, things like that. Or maybe there's conflict in your relationships, or just different things. And like all numbers, like all energies, there is a high expression and there is a more shadowy, a more depressed, not quite so ideal expression. And the same plays out with your house numbers. You can be playing out the high expression of whatever number you have, or you might find yourself in conflict or in lack or whatever because of the lower, you're vibrating with the lower expressions of those numbers. So the more you can become aware of what's going on around you, the easier it is for you to become more aware of what's going on inside of you. And when you become aware of what's going on inside of you, then you have the power to make some changes. So your addresses, they kind of like have an energetic flow. It's like if you look back at all the addresses you've lived in from when you were a child all the way up through where you are now, you look at the flow of the numbers and what their significance is. It's sort of like you can have a numerology history of the kind of vibrations that you were immersed in at certain phases of your life. And the same applies to phone numbers. And, well, your social security card never changes, but, license plates, your phone numbers, your bank account numbers. It's always fun to add up your bank account numbers. Anyway, so like, for example, for me, I'll use me as an example. I started out with a house number that was a number 7, which actually, now that I know more, that actually was a perfect number to live in, because that was the one number that was missing, the one energetic influence that was missing from my name. So it helped complement what I was missing somewhere else. And then from there I moved to a number 11, and I stayed there for a long time until I got my divorce. And the number 11 is about enlightenment, stepping into your personal power, being on your own 2 feet and getting connected to spirit. And now I'm currently living in a number 9 house, which is about completion, and it's about unconditional love and being of service to the greater humanity. So you can see I invite you to take a look at your own life and see how your energies have flowed with your different addresses. And the other thing that I invite you to do, which you may have two of the numbers because of you've calculated them from the book, but I invite you to take a look and see how your house numbers match up with your personal numbers. So for me, my personal numbers are 3, 4, and 6. So the 9 right now matches perfectly because it's all part of the emotional self-expression triad. So in other words, it's a harmonious number for me. So these are things that you look at when you go to calculate your address. You want to know, first of all, you want to know what is the energy that I am living in every day that I eat and I sleep in for the most part and spend a lot of time in. And what kind of energy is that? How is it supporting me? And then the other question to ask is, how do my personal numbers match with my environment? So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the numerology values of your address. So one factor that's a huge influence on how you feel wherever it is you're living is in the human design chart. If you have an open G center, then that makes you very sensitive to your environment. And of course, any openness in your chart is going to make you sensitive and more affected by whatever influences are in your environment. So there's two basic energies or themes that we look at when we're looking at the address. First of all, we'll look at the numbers. That's the very simplest thing to do. You just, whatever your house numbers or your apartment numbers are, or your building numbers, whatever it is, and you can also apply this to your business, where you're working or where your business is. Those numbers are very important. That's one aspect. But then if you really want to get the complete picture, then you add up and with the Pythagorean table, you can take and assign a number to each letter of the street address and to the city and to the state and to the country, because these are all it's like nesting again. So you've got the country theme, you've got the state theme, which affects everyone that's living in the state. You've got the theme of the city, which affects everyone living in the city. And then you've got the theme of the street, which affects everyone living on the street. And then it's personalized by your house number. Or if you're in an apartment, you're still, there's a global theme for your apartment building or your complex. And then your apartment number is your personal theme. So here we've got this nesting theme again. But there's two things that I want to talk about in relation to the energy of the actual address, like the street address and the city and all that. And that is, it has a natural expression, like it might be a number 4 or it might be a number 9, like the street. That is sort of like the basic overall energies that it's working with. But there's a second element that's hidden, that's more subtle. And that's the soul urge of that particular energy of that particular street or the name or the city or whatever it is. So, and the soul urge is like what's hidden, it's the secret motivation. It's the secret message of what you want to activate there. So sometimes you'll find when you're out house hunting, you may be drawn to a particular address and you don't really know why. And it might be because it's filling in a gap of some missing energy that you have in your chart. Or it might be, you're supporting certain energies that you already do have in your chart, so it amplifies that energy. Or it could just simply be a challenge. Excuse me. So To keep it simple today, since we don't have all the other charts, we'll just work with your number. So jot down your actual address number. So like if it's 1234 or 1170 or 655 or whatever it is, just jot it down and then add up the digits. And just a minute, my dog is tangled up in my cord here. Come here. Get down. Can you get down? That's a boy. He's got an upset stomach this morning. So add up the digits, and if they come up to a double digit, then go ahead and reduce it to a single digit. And if you're in an apartment, go ahead and add up the building number and then add up your apartment number. And that way, you're identifying these two elements. You've kind of got like a double element that's affecting where you're living. So then you can use the numerology, your monthly oracle, as a reference guide to see what this number means. And so just briefly, I'll run through the numbers just so you kind of have this. So if your address adds up to a number one's all about initiation, standing on your own 2 feet, being independent, being a leader, being self-sufficient. And if it's playing out in the shadow side, it could be codependence, submissive to other people, being self-centered, underachieving, or maybe even being aggressive. So the number 2 is about relationships, communication, and co-creation and being peaceful and mentoring. And if it's in conflict, then you might find yourself in conflict with other people, having trouble communicating, things like that. 3 is about fun and being playful and being creative and expressing yourself. 3 is very much an emotional expression number. And if that's not happening, then you might not be expressing yourself. You're just stuffing your feelings and all the things that happens with that. So number 4 is about working hard, maybe, and then if you're overdoing it, you might be overworking. So, or maybe not being totally honest in yourself. And number 5 is about curiosity, communication, freedom, and movement. And the shadow side of the number 5 is being stuck, being overly risk-taking, or getting involved in addictions, things like that. The number 6 is about the home and the family, taking care of, being responsible, being like the cosmic mother. And the flip side is like overgiving, getting burnt out, just doing too much, being controlling and manipulative. 7 is about universal understanding and spiritual connection and insights and research and analysis. And the flip side of that is being secretive and untrusting and a loner. And I have help on the floor here. The number 8 is about leadership and being a visionary and being the CEO. And the flip side of that is being in lack and not learning from your challenges and having poor self-esteem. And the number 9 is about completion and letting go and unconditional love. And the flip side of that is being egotistical and overly generous, being easy mark, maybe being too altruistic, and having trouble making money. So that gives you a real brief overview of what your address could symbolize. And the way it could play out is you may find yourself, if you're living in a number 4 house, and the address is number 4, you may find yourself always working and working more than you really need to and not having any fun. The other side of it is you could be well, ideally, you know, you would, the good side of the number 4 is that, you know, you have honesty in your relationships, and you're honest with yourself, and it's, you know, your house is organized, and there's no chaos in your life because your house is organized. So I mean, there's a flip side. I mean, there's a positive side and there's the flip side. So, you know, just kind of take a look and see how things are playing out. So the question to ask is, you know, when you're in a house number, it's at a certain time, it's like, what energy are you being called to express right now? And how will these play out for you? And, you know, is your address filling some sort of a missing energy? Or is it supporting something that needs to be supported right now? So these are kind of like questions to look at when you're looking at your address numbers. So now, let's say you got an address that's not very supportive to you. Like, let's say we'll use the number 4 house address. So, come on, get down. Come here. Yeah, he just wants to be up here. So, let's say you have a number 4 house, and the way it's playing out for you, just by the dynamics of your energy, how your energy mixes in with it. Like, let's say you have a number 4 in your chart, then this number 4 energy is really being amplified. So you find yourself just work. And, you know, and it's kind of like, now what about the rest of my life? And so what you might want to do is change that to another number that's maybe more supportive to your energies. So you could change it to a number 6, or you could change it to a number 8. The number 6 is about service and family. If that's kind of what you want, if you want to have more interaction with your family, then you'd want to change it to like a number 6. If you want to have more feeling of wealth and substance, you might change it to a number 8. If you want to be of more service to the world, you might want to change it to a number 9. So the way you do this is you inside the door, above your door, go ahead and add a number. So this is the same thing that happens in Feng Shui. If you want to change the energy of your house, you can use a hexagram to change it. So in numerology, all you need to do is take and add some numbers. So if you have a number 4 house and you want to change it to a number 8 house, you have several combinations. You can add a 1 and a 3. You can add another 4, which I wouldn't recommend because then you have too many 4s. Or you can go 2 and 2, which is about building strong relationships. And the 1 and the 3 is about being more social. And that would give you the number 8. So play with this a little bit and see what feels right. And as you begin to understand your own numbers more effectively, then you will be able to understand what energies support you and which energies don't really help you move ahead. And you can also find out what energies will help kind of bring things into balance for you. Because if you have a lot of number 4 energy, you might actually want to use the number 3, which actually is in conflict with the number 4, but the number 3 is about playing and having fun. And the number 1 is about standing on your own. So you can kind of see, you know, each number has a little story, and how you weave it together creates the kind of story that you might want to have. So I got to put you down. Because now what I want to talk about is I had a couple of people send me their addresses. So let me get them out. Okay. So Kimberly sent me her complete address. Now, what's very interesting, Kimberly, is that your house address, the number, then you have 3 1s in your number, and that is like it equals a number 3. But you know, when you take a look at the frequency or how many numbers there are that goes into the, you know, the address, then you see that there's a lot of intensity with this number one energy about really, you know, being a leader, being innovative, being mutative, standing on your own 2 feet, being independent. And the way, I mean, it's like, this is really, really strong energy. It's like a lot of initiation type energy. It's like new beginnings. I mean, we are really going to do new beginnings in a big way. And those new beginnings flow into the number 3, which is about creatively expressing them. So in this particular house number, it's about taking all sorts of new ideas, I mean, big time, and then expressing them outward. And so this is the type of energy that you're in, and it's going to encourage you to be receptive to these new energies and allow yourself to be creative with those energies, and, you know, and create something and express it outwards, and maybe teach and entertain, and come on, you get down, and you know, however it comes out to be expressed. So when you add up the whole address, though, she sent me her whole complete address. The whole address, very interestingly, turns out to be a 7. That includes the number, the street, the city, the state, the zip code, and the country, which is the United States. So the whole address turns out to be a number 7, which is about bringing a spiritual element to this whole thing of creativity. And number 7 and number 1 are also very intellectual numbers, and the number 3 is kind of like creativity that has its roots in the mind, from the mind. So we've got a lot of mind energy going on here, but it's also balanced, or can be balanced, by spiritual insights. So rather than just getting insights from learnings or from, you know, information, the insights and the new creations that come are actually from spirit. They're out of the divine consciousness, or the, you know, the sea of all possibilities. So, and the soul urge for this address is to create. It's a number 3. So that is like when in this particular house, the urge, the hidden urge, the deep urge is going to tap into your inner urges, your own soul urge is going to be the number 3, which is about creatively expressing yourself and making some sort of a creative difference in the world. So that's really, you know, that's really awesome. So the next person is Rebecca, and she sent me her address, and she has, interestingly enough, in her address, her numbers, she has 3 2s and a 9. So just like with Kim, who had all those 1s, for Rebecca, she's got 3 2s, and the 3 2s are all about relationships and cooperative relationships, and peace, and being a mediator and a diplomat, so that just a second, I have a needy child here, so that you can create all sorts of really strong relationship bonds. So, and then with the number 9, that's also, you know, all these relationships are like for being in service. So the whole number comes up to a 15-6, which is all about service. So, so for this particular number for Rebecca, it's like the theme has to do with building relationships that are strong, that are, the relationships are of service, or, you know, the service is building the relationships. You can go, you know, whichever way feels the right way. And but and there'll be a lot of, she'll probably find in this particular energy that, which the 6 is also about family and being family oriented and tribal, or your friends or your close community. It's about that energy. So it's about, you might find yourself in a position quite a bit of being the mediator or being the peacemaker, or, you might find yourself being like really sensitive and, overly caring. So, so these are the kind of energies that those 3 twos, they're really intense. So the theme is really about peace and community. So that's the house number. And then her whole number, which included the street and the city and the state and the zip code and the country, that amounted to a number 1, which is about initiating and starting something. So it might be that this particular address is all about supporting you, Rebecca, in starting something new that is built around the value of relationships and working together cooperatively, and also about bridging the gap so that people can have peace, find peace, and bring that balance between these polarities, these opposites. And it's also about spiritual connection. So now Rebecca was thinking about moving to the town of Raleigh. And without the rest of the address, I can't tell you what that would mean. But the town of Raleigh vibrates again to the number 6 energy. So, which is all about service. So depending on how this fits in with the rest of the scheme of things, this may be supportive for you or not. The town that you're currently in vibrates to the number of the 11-2, which is a bit of a challenging number, because the 11 is about stepping up to the plate. It's about double new beginnings. It's standing on your own 2 feet, and it's it's like spiritually challenging. It's like, come on, there's something on the other side of the veil, let's go take a look at it. Let's make that connection. So, so it depending on how this matches up with the rest of your numbers, it could be very supportive, or it could be not very supportive. It could be really challenging for you. So since you said you wanted to move, I'm guessing it might be a little bit challenging for you. So this number 6, depending on how your other numbers lay out, could be much more harmonious. It's definitely a number of love and wealth and caring for others. And so, you'll just have to see what you come up with. So if there's any questions, or if you have any suggestions of what you would like to talk about next time, I'd love to hear it. And I see Judy has joined. I know I'm earlier this week than I was last week, because I've got some things I have to do today. So I will go ahead and come up with something else to talk about next week. What I really would like to do is talk about, how we always have nicknames for our sweethearts or our kids or something. Well, if you figure out the numerology, you might want to find out just what kind of vibration are you sending them when you're calling them whatever it is, like if you call somebody your sweetie or peaches or whatever it is you call them, it's kind of fun to do. So I'm thinking we might do that next week. So until next time, I will talk to you later. You enjoy your week.